All right, here we go. Welcome in to the blockchain basement / blockchain report / bullets all right. I keep wanting to say bullets and bourbon. It's bullshit and bourbon, right?
Hey, that's good too.
Bullets and
Got
bourbon.
firearms on
Oh
mine.
my God. Oh my God. Terrible. Well, you know what? My mind's going 100 miles an hour because we're about 2 weeks from what I've been looking for out of the altcoin season, boys. We are on the precipice of what I feel like is a generational bull market. We're already seeing some things 3x, 5x in a few weeks' time. We're going to be talking about some of those projects, but also some insane yield that is happening on the base ecosystem network. We got Veteran Crypto joining us today. We got the blockchain report. Jeff up in the house, the homies. You guys, I'm very, very excited to make this video. This is something I've been thinking about for a few weeks' time now, as we've seen our bags pumping, but everyone's asking when altcoin season actually happens, and we're going to dive right into it. So this is where we are at, folks. This is the second halving. Took 245 days for the altcoin season to kick into gear. Third halving, boom, 245 days, boom. Now, where we're at is right on the precipice of generational gains to be made in the altcoin sector. This is coming to December 23rd, when historically we have seen Bitcoin dominance fall off a cliff. The price goes to the moon, but our altcoins go to Pluto. And this, we are currently seeing a Bitcoin slight resurgence on the dominance, but this is nothing new. We have seen this each different time right before the true cliff of the altcoin season began. Here it is in third halving as well. And we back up all the way to this moment of the second halving, and Bitcoin dominance tried to give that last gasp before falling off that edge. And with that being said, we have seen some insane gains being had on the altcoin sector. I keep opening my portfolio, my wallets, and I see the biggest gainers consistently being base ecosystem plays. Today, for instance, Morpho and Moonwell. And Morpho entered into essentially a price discovery situation over the past week. This project has come out of nowhere. This is literally was right behind Moonwell in the base network. Now Morpho has broken into price discovery. It's up 18% today. I got this project at $1.20. I waited for the health on a shelf, as I've termed it, right there. Got it for $1.20, and it has been off to the races ever since. It's been a very, very exciting time. But the reason and the entire thesis behind going after these DeFi plays was very, very specific. Now, in 2023, we saw something from the Department of Justice that put up a major, major signal / red flag to me and the boys that are watching, hanging out with me in the blockchain basin. It was this. We had the Department of Justice take aim at CZ, the past CEO of Binance. They sentenced him to 4 months in confinement, prison, and $4 billion, right after CZ was constantly putting up pictures and selfies of 4. It was almost like he knew what was coming. This is Merrick Garland on that original announcement of it. This is November 21st of 2023. Then within that same year, at the beginning of the year, something very, very interesting happened. Something very surprising to me was this. We had Coinbase roll out Base, the Ethereum layer 2 network that is specific for Coinbase. And the combination of the movements really told me 2 things. We had BlackRock ETFs being custodied by Coinbase. We had now the largest wallets of Bitcoin on the planet in Coinbase's hands, entrusted to them by BlackRock, one of the most powerful organizations on the planet. And the Department of Justice taking aim at Binance and cutting it down a few levels. So that gave me the signal to start building out these bags that I'm showing you right here. The top gainers consistently have been Morpho, Moonwell. There's also within this portfolio Aerodrome, which is taking a little bit of a haircut, sure. And I've stacked a little bit of Alien Base token. I am all over these projects within the Base ecosystem. And any signs of weakness, on these projects, I am buying, and there's a darn good reason for that. Now, I know that you guys, we've all been getting into Aerodrome pretty early. Veteran Crypto, you've been adding liquidity. You've been playing around in the actual liquidity pools of Aerodrome, and you've been earning some insane returns, some insane APY. I know that Jeff, Blockchain Report, you're getting into the mix as well, and I'm a student of this journey that you guys have gone on today. I have found, and we took the right angle, we took the right road, but you guys have carved out some very, very cool ways to make money within these ecosystems. And I'm super excited to hear about it. So without further ado, I think I've set the stage pretty well for what I want to cover. And I will cover essentially where I think these projects are going in terms of market cap and, their velocity of upswing that I expect to see in 2025. But let's go around the horn. Veteran Crypto, what in the heck are you up to on the Base network ecosystem? I need to know how you guys are printing all this money.
So, yeah, no, I'll be honest. I been trying to figure out, a lot of different aspects of crypto. Listening to Blockchain Basement and listening to other channels on my now 4-year journey. Tried trading, tried scalp trading and learning TA, and honestly I sucked at it. I was playing around with little bits of money, but just could not get to where I was profitable. I'd make some money, I'd lose some money, and it was just kind of felt like I was burning through my powder, my dry powder.
Yeah,
that I could be just putting into HODL bags, long-term hold. So honestly, I held a huge bag of Arrow. I got rid of my XRP. Didn't see, hats off to everybody that made, the awesome returns that they did. But I just didn't see the upside. My risk tolerance was a little bit higher, and I moved into Arrow and Ondo. And I'm always wanting to earn. I hate when money is stagnant, when money's not sitting still. Every wealthy person that I talk to and that I watch says that money standing still, you're losing money. If you need to have your money making money.
right.
And so I thought DeFi. I mean, it's you look at it and just some of the APRs. Obviously there's risk, some risk involved, but some of the returns that you get are insane. And so, like I always do, anybody that's watched Black Site, we go deep. It's like you just dig in and learn every aspect of it. And at some point, you got to get your feet wet. And so, yeah, I dove into Aerodrome and started going through all the different aspects of it and learning about the concentrated liquidity pools, learning about the AMMs, and all the different types of pools. Watching channels and doing research on the platform itself, on how their fee structures are, and just all the different things, so I could figure out how to maximize my profits, because I don't just want to jump in and hope I make money.
Right.
I'm very much into numbers. So
I mean, this is such an expansive ecosystem that I've been looking at in Aerodrome. There are just hundreds of pairs that are within the available liquidity pools that you can add liquidity to. So, it's kind of overwhelming when you get in here. Like now, I mean, I've bought Aerodrome in gigantic clips at 18 cents and then twice at 50 cents. So now I have a pretty big bag of Aerodrome. And I do feel that way that you just mentioned. I feel like adding and making my bags start working for me. I mean, as far as just holding the token, we'll go over that first, I guess, before I want you to share your screen here in a minute. But this price, where we're sitting right now, $1.4 billion market cap, the velocity and the market mind share that Aerodrome has taken up is very, very similar to when I was around last bull market. And this is the time frame of January of 2021. This is equivalently like the time frame that we were in right now. 4-year cycles last 3 years and 11 months, so they tick back 1 month every cycle. And at that time frame, last bull cycle, Uniswap, which is what I always compare Aerodrome to, was sitting at a $1.6 billion market cap. Now, as we all know, Uniswap ended up going on to do some incredible things. It pumped up to just about $23 billion. Now, what that means in terms of specific token price for Aerodrome, should Aerodrome continue to climb up the ranks and become this mainstay crypto, this DeFi platform, this swapping setup that really institutions are seeming to start to prefer with this new CBBTC product, wrapped Coinbase Bitcoin has opened up the gamut for an insane DeFi summer. And so
We
what
need
I
to,
see, what's that?
towards
What you
the
got?
towards the end of this, we really need to go a little bit in depth about the gravity and
Oh,
just
absolutely.
the weight of the Coinbase wrapped BTC and ETH, and
More is being
where
migrated to that now, right? I think more liquidity is moving into that from other Bitcoin
I mean,
products.
I definitely don't want to get on that rabbit trail yet, go deep down that rabbit trail yet, but I definitely want to touch on it because I think that it has huge implications for the entire market.
100%. And we are damn well going to do that. After we get through how the hell you're printing up to 9,000% APY. Okay. That's what we're getting. But yeah, I mean, right now, Aerodrome is sitting essentially where Uniswap was at the same time frame last bull market, sitting at $1.4 billion. Now, when we compare what would happen to our bag, should Aerodrome accomplish what Uniswap did at the same time frame? Okay, so this is Uniswap sitting at 1.6. Now, it's moved on. It's currently at a shelf of $10 billion market cap, and I think Uniswap's going to probably hit $25-30 billion market cap this cycle. But for Aerodrome, by the time of 2025, we're going to be looking at about 850 million tokens in circulation. And if it should accomplish this $24 billion, or rather, $23 to $24 billion market cap, and accomplish what Uniswap did last bull cycle, which in my opinion, this is a very conservative target because of the mind share that Aerodrome is actually taking up right now, that brings the token price top somewhere around $25 to $30 a unit. In this specific instance, should it repeat exactly the velocity that Uniswap had last cycle, it would bring it to $28.44. So just in and of itself, holding this token into 2025, I think is an extremely powerful move. But you're sitting there printing money off of the literal liquidity pools within this. So Veteran Crypto, I need to know, how are you getting this insane APY? And what should I do with this giant bag of Aerodrome that I've bought very cheap? And I know a lot of people that have gotten in on it at great entry points. How are you putting that money even further to work for yourself?
Well, so there's a lot that we could cover. I'm going to try to summarize this as much as possible, and Jeff's going to help me kind of stay on track and
yes, absolutely,
and keep this moving because I don't want to get too wordy. But if I can share my screen, so basically what you have is this is the home page, and it's in one thing that's important to understand to fully take advantage of Aerodrome, the platform, is the flywheel effect. So without getting, I'll touch on a lot of this, later on, but I want it to be kind of in your mind while we do. So there's two major ways that I'm taking advantage of earning on the Aerodrome platform. One is locking Aero, and you can choose the period of time to receive a liquidity token called VE Aero, which gives you voting rights.
Okay.
With that locked, you earn yield. With that yield that you earn, you can use that to invest into liquidity pools that also earn you varying amounts of APR or APY, which you can cash out. You can use it as dry powder to buy, to plus up your bags. You can, lump it back in and, compound it there's many things you can do with it. But
Okay.
as you can see in this diagram, it's basically, I mean, some people, what they'll do is they'll take the earnings from the liquidity pools and stake even more to get more VE arrow that they use to, basically get more yield that they'll put into liquidity pools and just rinse and repeat back and forth. So
Okay.
keep that.
Now on
keep that in
the
mind.
locking schedule, let's talk about the locking schedule you mentioned real briefly. What are the different time frames of locking the tokens? Because in my mind, that is the first and foremost thing that I want to
Yes.
make sure is available, because I want to stay liquid to a degree, but
Yes.
because a lot of people end up getting, there's a reason for this, is because a lot of people ended up staking Polygon for a year and a half or something like
Mhm.
that, and the
And it
price
pumps,
just falls.
and you can't do shit.
Yes, dude. So let's avoid that. What are the
Yeah.
different time frames of locking that are available on this protocol?
All right. So you, Drew, have a bunch of arrow and you want to be quasi liquid. So as you can see here, you can lock it anywhere from 7 days to 4 years. And depending on how long you lock it, say that for a good round number, say you have 10,000 tokens.
Mhm.
If you lock it for 7 days or 5 days, you'll get 47.9 VE arrow or voting power.
Okay.
With that, you will get, basically an epoch is a week. So after a week, the way that the Arrow platform works, and I'm sorry if this gets a little complicated, I'll try to be as simple as possible. But all of the fees that are collected, and this is what's great on Aerodrome, is all the fees that are collected are paid out to VE Arrow holders.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
every week, whatever the platform earns gets divvied up. However much VE arrow you have, whatever percentage of the total VE arrow, you get that percentage of the fees earned during that epoch. Does that make
Wow.
sense?
Yes, absolutely. And that's a great, 7 days, you're getting dang near $100 at current token valuation. Incredible. That's
And
very
so,
Weekly
yeah,
paycheck.
and then you can switch to whatever period of time. So if you're
Mhm.
thinking, I want to do it for 4 months because I
Mhm.
figure that come what January, February, March, April is
Mhm.
safe, then you could get quite a bit more VE arrow and earn a larger share
Right.
of each week of those fees. Does that all make sense?
That does make sense. That does make sense. But first of all, I'm amazed that Jeff's camera just followed him around the room.
Oh yeah,
His,
I got
his
this
girl,
new motion
his
tracking.
girlfriend
Oh
got
my
him an early Christmas present.
Wow. Okay. Go continue. That was incredible.
So, I mean, do you guys have any questions? I mean, that's
Well,
pretty much
it's
the way the
pretty
lock works.
explanatory. It's pretty explanatory. It sounds like a very fair distribution within the network. And I do like that you can choose down to 7 days and then, up to 4 years. Me personally, I'd be probably landing in that 2 to 4 month range. I definitely want to stay on my toes and stay liquid, at the front end of 2025 for sure. But now you're showing the immense amount of pools that are available within this. And I was looking at some of the APYs. They're absolutely crazy. What are we looking at here, Vet?
Okay, so this is my actual locks. So
Mhm.
I'm logged in, and this when I initially put this in was $5,000.
Mhm.
So it's just in price appreciation, it's over doubled.
Mhm.
But in the past month, I've earned 343 arrow tokens
Mhm.
just off of the past 4 weeks. So it ends up coming out to be about, me and Jeff did the math earlier. It was just shy of 7% return that I've earned just in the past month.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
And I'll be honest, I don't know what happened here. This magically showed up in my account one day.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm calling that magic internet money.
All right. All right. Fair enough. If it's locked, it's there. It's locked. That's great.
I'm
Um,
hoping that it's a dividend of some kind and it happens again
okay. Okay.
because it's like $5,800. So
Jesus. So you're in like, I mean, that's just about $400 within a month, just off of staking those in a pretty short amount of
It's
time.
actually like 700.
That's-
It's like 700.
And that's just the lock.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
just the
my
lock.
That's
too.
yeah. That's just the lock. That's not the
It's
liquidity.
not the
Oh
liquidity.
yeah, because that's like 360 tokens or something like that. $2 a token. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and now there's a lot of different liquidity pools to choose from. How do you go about deciding which liquidity pool you feel most comfortable providing liquidity to?
Actually, I'll jump right into that. One thing I forgot to cover is
Yeah.
the way that you do this is you lock it, and then you can either you have to vote to earn, or you can deposit your lock into one of these, and basically it's an automation. So like if you're busy and you don't have time to be voting and checking on this every week,
Mm-hmm.
you can put it in here, and they'll automatically vote for you, so that you can get your fees earned
Like a
off of
delegator.
Okay.
yeah, exactly. It's like a
Okay.
delegator.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, instead of because here you can come here and you can vote manually. Up here you can select
And-
vote.
One thing about that, I see people a lot questioning about the delegating tokens to a governance, like for governance, like Optimism. When they got the Optimism airdrop, the last one, people were asking, "Oh, if I delegate, does it give my tokens to them?" And no,
Yeah.
you're not giving your tokens
You're keeping
to anybody.
custody.
You're just giving the voting right for
Okay.
those tokens.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
don't give up anything. Nobody takes. Yeah, you just have the voting right that you give to them.
Well,
It's kind of like an
think of
electoral
it as like
college.
delegates. Yeah, well, think of it as delegates, like for the Democrat Party or the Republican Party.
Right.
They're they don't possess your vote. They vote on your behalf.
Mhm.
They're
Mhm.
so it's just like Jeff was just saying. It's you keep custody of your tokens, and it's not like they can run off with your tokens.
Right. Right. And then, I mean, that's important. I mean, I know it seems simple to us, but there's a lot of new people coming into crypto, and I'm getting a lot of pretty outlandish questions from people that bought the tokens early. So, I'm really glad that we're taking this step by step. So now we're
No
looking at
stupid questions.
well, yeah, there is no stupid questions, and this is, if
No.
you're new to crypto, this is complex. It looks complex.
Yeah.
No, it's and DeFi isn't something. I should have prefaced with this. DeFi, if you're new to crypto, do not dive straight into DeFi. It is you need to learn the basics. It's a crawl, walk, run situation.
Mhm.
This is run. Crawl is listening to blockchain basement, learning terminology, learning how crypto works, learning about the technology, and then as you learn more and more, you can do different things like learn about staking.
Mhm.
Staking is relatively safe. You can learn about volatile pairs. The name, and I'll use that to segue into this. Volatile, I know it's counterintuitive, but it's an AMM or an automated market maker. It's actually safer than concentrated. These are the two that I try to stick with. The AMMs, you're going to earn a lower APR. However, it's you don't have to select a price range to earn.
Okay.
And I'll get into that with concentrated because it's something I'm going to have to show you for it to make sense.
Yeah.
But basically, these you can select a deposit. You basically deposit. On this one, it's virtual and Coinbase wrapped Bitcoin. You deposit, whatever amount of virtual, whatever amount of Bitcoin, and it basically lends out your tokens to other people, and you earn 108% APR. So
Gotcha.
about
Okay.
8% per month.
Yeah.
So that's a relatively safe way that you can partake in DeFi. The risk would be if of course the platform goes away. It's not like these platforms have insurance yet. They are, whenever you deposit into a liquidity pool, it creates what's called an NFT that goes in that you hold in your wallet. So it shows ownership, but you don't have the tokens. So that's important to understand. You're not custodying those tokens. Like
Right.
we were just like Jeff was just talking about with, other mechanisms. you guys have any questions on AMMs?
No, I mean, it's a little bit different of approach. You know, and I mean, I know everyone's got different boats that get floated different ways. Kind of an interesting approach where it's not in your custody, but you know, I know that there's people that like to farm that way.
Mhm.
And I know that there's a lot of different yields. Vet, how have you gone about kind of locating a place to lend liquidity to, or an ALM pool that you feel the most comfortable interacting with?
So I do have a couple of tools. I'll touch on the concentrated liquidity real quick because
Hmm.
it's going to segue nicely into why I need to use those tools.
Hmm.
So basically, the concentrated liquidity pools are again, they're pairs. However, to be to actually earn, the pair has to be within a range. So this is one of the pools that I'm in, a wrapped ETH USDC pair.
Hmm.
And you can see I have these levels set. The blue lines, that is the range that I selected based off of just doing some, what Drew would call hillbilly TA.
Hmm.
I just looked for an area of support and an area of resistance. And basically that's where I set my levels.
Man, and what a giga chad move. You're doing the purgatory zone of where Ethereum's stuck right now.
Yeah.
It's seeming to really balance out that. Very, very nice. Okay, so now you've chosen Ethereum, you've chosen your price levels, and that
Yes.
is the price range where you are willing to lend out your tokens to.
That range, however tight or wide that range is, and
Mhm.
and Jeff is getting schooled up on this right now and doing quite well. The tighter the range, the more you earn, the more
Mhm.
APR you get. The
Mhm.
wider the range, the less. But you stay in that range and you earn for a longer period of time potentially,
Right,
especially on more volatile pairs.
right.
So when you go in here initially, there is preset price ranges. You can do narrow, which is plus or minus 3%, like whatever the price is. There'll be a positive and a negative 3% will set that range.
Mhm.
Common +8, -8, and wide +15, -15. And you can
Gotcha.
see narrow is 250% APR, common 93%, wide 50%. So
Mhm.
as it gets wider, it goes down. And you can see kind of down here where it's green, as I select them, you can see the range changing.
Right, right.
So now knowing that, depending on the range you select, is how much of each of the assets that you're going to have to put in. And then basically all you do is you basically click on it and select, it'll bring up your wallet and everything. You go through the process of depositing.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
that is,
So it's kind of a combination of TA and then knowing
yeah.
how to enter the DeFi spot, which is, you know, you picked a couple spots of resistance, a couple spots of
Mhm.
support, and then decided upon that range from there. Very, very good. I just got to commend you on those. Those are great spots on the bottom end you chose. And this is something that, you know, a lot of people might feel intimidated by, but really when you need to find these ranges, go to the larger time frames. I think you're looking at the hourly right now, hourly,
Yeah.
4 hour, larger market caps as well seem to move much less than smaller market caps.
And I'll get into correlation. I'm
Yeah.
glad you brought that up. And a shout out to Kelly. If you're wanting to learn TA, Kelly's show on Hit Network,
Yep.
he does
BitLab Academy.
BitLab.
he's really, really good about breaking things down very simply.
Mhm.
And I mean, listen to a couple of his shows and you'll be able to look at these charts and see where these levels of support and resistance are just at a glance. It's
Yep.
not that difficult.
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
So the tools that I use. So this is something I built out. It's basically to it I'll just be down and dirty.
Mhm.
Basically, I put in whatever it is that my initial input, so like if my ETH USDC pair, 1.22 ETH, that much USDC, whatever the price was when I entered the liquidity pool, and then, hours, days, weeks, whatever down the road, I can put in, as it evolves and changes and the prices and, the tokens are being sold off and bought within, my pool,
Right.
and how much emissions I get. I can keep track of my initial investment and my earnings. So I can see that if I would have hodled, this is what I would have had. My liquidity that I have in there currently without my rewards, the rewards that I've earned, and then it will actually calculate my permanent loss, which is basically just the difference between what I currently have without rewards, relative to if I would have just hodled.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And very nice organized way to keep this all tracked. This is something that I'll definitely be doing
I
as
have
well.
to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and then of course over here, I've been tracking, this is this month, like the amount that I had in liquidity, how much I have in the lock, and the total. And then you can just kind of see how it's evolved. Like just at the beginning of this month, I only had just over 15 grand, and now I have almost 21 grand just in just in the liquidity pools.
Good Lord. And just within this month, I mean, we're only 13 days into this month, Veteran Crypto. Okay.
Yes.
So what, you made $5,000 in
off of 15 grand. I made 25% in 13 days.
That is absolutely fantastic. I mean, you're fighting with the best of leverage traders at that kind of increase. You know what I mean? And like leverage trading, it's a battle. Like we may as well talk about this because you went to DeFi, please. And I definitely am leverage trading and then spot trading. And on Monday we had a flash crash in the span of 3 minutes. Like $1 billion worth of liquidations happened. I only have like a quarter of my trading bag at risk at any given moment. And that son of a gun took $1,400 out from my hands in literally the blink of an eye. But I've thankfully resurged, and actually I'm really, really up for the week, only because of 3 days in a row of multiple trades that were 100% gains. You know what I mean? So, trading, it takes a lot of learning, a lot of focus, a lot of guts, and a lot of timing. I mean, holy cow. So if you're out there trading, the gains can be stupid. They can be awesome. I made $800 having dinner tonight, but you know what? The pain can come just as quickly. So just prefacing it that way. So I just wanted to give kind of that story for and people have different, preferences on how to make money, but I'm really liking your approach, and your gains are great on what you just showed me. Over the course of 13 days, you've made $5,000 off of just involving yourself in DeFi. So sorry, just had to interject that, give the comparison.
No, actually it's a perfect opportunity, because Jeff, I mean, if you don't mind sharing, we've started doing the blockchain report, for a couple of weeks now, and I want to say it was a week or two ago that you decided to jump into DeFi and got into a stable pair and have since evolved a bit. You mind sharing your journey a little bit?
Yeah, it's been about a month, because I'm looking back at my RREWARDS, and I jumped in the same concentrated liquidity pool, the wrapped ETH USDC. One, because you want something, like that was saying, you want something with a lot of volume, a lot of TVL, a high TVL, total value locked. Like, is it worth putting your funds into, and not just something because like you said, there's 9,000% APY, but those are meme coin pairs where you don't know, the volatility is so high, you're going to end up losing your ass, and the 9,000% is not going to mean shit. So you got to be really picky. And this is a pool that I felt, comfortable getting in just to test the waters. And yeah, in about a month, I've gotten just under 90 Aero tokens that I've accumulated as rewards. And then,
Well, if
that's
you
like
don't mind, what was your initial investment?
a little over $800.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and then I've rebalanced and stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's a great way to just it's like a ghost way to DCA right here is what we're talking about.
Actually, that's exactly what it is, Drew.
Yeah.
Because that's what these pairs are doing. Is
Right.
when you put them in, as the price moves up and down, it's selling one, buying the other.
Mm-hmm.
So if it goes out the top, you're going to be all in on one of the assets. If it goes out the bottom, you're going to be all in on the other one.
Right. Right. I like this approach a lot. I mean, I'm going to be leverage trading as well, obviously, and then spot buying. But I mean, this is a great way to just constantly have money flowing in. And the thing that I like about what we're talking about is that we're talking about earning in an asset that literally has the velocity to 13x from current price levels. So, you know, this $100, not just a stable coin, like the $90-$100 that you're talking about in a month's time frame, by my expectations, is probably going to end up being worth
10 grand.
Yeah, I mean, well, at current velocity,
that's 90 Aero. That's 90 Aero.
Oh yeah,
that's,
so that's $200.
Yeah, so that's $200 in a month from just less than $1,000 investment. And there is some rebalancing that I've had to do, maybe like 4 or 5 times, but now
the fees are so low on Aero, it's negligible.
Right.
Yeah,
that's insane to think about. If it keeps growing, that's going to be worth $2,000, $2,500, man. This is incredible.
Just sitting there. Yeah.
Okay.
And Fed will dive into VFAT too, because that's a pretty good tool to help you rebalance and do all kinds of fun stuff. Because it does get kind of to be a pain, because you have to find a liquidity pool, deposit in whatever amounts you want, and then you have to stake it, right, in order to get the rewards. And then if you want to rebalance, you withdraw or unstake, withdraw, then go back. And if you have to swap tokens, so there's like 10 steps that could keep you from doing this regularly. And VFAT can help streamline it. I used it earlier to rebalance, and it was.
Can you show me this tool on your screen if you may?
I got it. I'll pull up. It's one of the tools that I want to share with you.
Absolutely. Let's check out what
VFAT.
So this one here, not financial advice, but as far as a concentrated liquidity pair, wrapped ETH USDC has been my workhorse.
Okay.
That Jeff was just talking about. And the reason being is, like he said, the volume. Mm-hmm. There's $1.3 billion worth of volume that's going on in this during this epoch. So this week, this is the volume that's going on. Mm-hmm. There's over $500,000 worth of fees that you can earn, and it's earning 876% APR right now.
Right.
It fluctuates.
And that fluctuates too.
Right.
Yes. But this is pretty much how I've taken 15 grand and earned 5,000 in the past 2 weeks.
Okay.
Primarily off of this.
Now let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Because I think something's coming up. We're going to be releasing this video pretty quickly. Hopefully the event doesn't happen before we release this, but let's say Ethereum chooses violence 7 days from now and blasts to $5,000, which it, in my opinion, definitely could do. What do you do in that situation? How do you kind of rebalance it?
All right. Perfect question. So if this is, again, wrapped ETH USDC, as the price goes up, basically when you get in, you're going to be probably in the middle of, the range, because that's just naturally where it's going to put you. As the price goes up, it's going to start selling ETH. As ETH price starts going up, it's going to start DCAing, like Drew mentioned, out of ETH and putting it into USDC.
Right.
If it goes down and chooses ugly violence, prison violence, then it's going to start selling off your USDC and buying ETH.
Okay.
And so, obviously if ETH keeps going down and down and down, that's where you get your impermanent loss. When you sell, unless you hold on to it or don't rebalance and just wait for it to come back up. However, as it goes up, in this bull market, it's more than likely to do, and gets towards the top, you have to do what's called rebalancing, what Jeff was just talking about and what you just brought up, Drew. So rebalancing, you can do it on Aerodrome. If you're on Aerodrome, the way that you would rebalance is you would actually have to exit the position and then basically buy back in. There's a tool that works so much better, and it's called VFAT. So it's just vfat.io.
Okay.
And basically what you do is you're still using Aerodrome, but you can also use other platforms. So far what we've found on here is there is Velodrome, which you see here, Aerodrome. You have this Pharaoh, that's an avalanche-based DeFi platform. And Pancake Swap is on here. And then this one called Nile, which I've never used or heard of. Whatever.
Oh, it's on Linea. Yeah. So Linea is made as the blockchain by consensus, which made MetaMask.
Right.
All right. And then you got Optimism, some stuff on Optimism chain. And you got BNB because you got Pancake Swap.
Yeah.
But anyway, this tool is awesome because say that you want to rebalance. Say that, here's my ranges. Basically, like if I click on this, you can see this is the range of this pool that I'm actually in right now.
Right.
This is what I've earned in the past couple hours. And as of right now with 116% APR, that what I can expect to earn, see it just jumped from 21 to 45 because the APR went up. So if it stays here on this pool with $6,600, I'll earn $45.80.
Right.
Now, here's the range that I'm in. If this goes up and goes out of range, then I have choices. I can do what's called a snuggle rebalance, which means that I would just adjust the upper end a little bit just to put myself back in range. It has less of an impact as far as fees and whatnot, or I could just do a full rebalance. And so basically, instead of doing what we were talking about on Aerodrome, where you have to totally cash out, you have to re-enter back in, you have to do a bunch of math to figure out, okay, how much wrapped ETH do I need? How much USDC do I need? And it never fails. No matter how good you are at math, I always ended up with a couple $100 that was sitting in my wallet, not earning, which annoyed the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Because real quick on that, when you go out of the range, you're going to have more of one asset versus the other. So you're going to, when you rebalance, you're going to have to swap at least 50-50 to get back into, because when you pick a range, you need to have 50 and 50 of each asset. Unless you do a custom range, which I'll touch on a little bit later because
that's going to get crazy.
I've kind of experimented with custom ranges and stuff, but you want 50-50 and this can help you take one asset and split it and do all that math for you.
Got you. Okay. So you just clicked rebalance.
Yes.
What will this do?
Well, the first one is say that I really like this position and it's earning really good. And I wanted to increase or add to this position.
Right.
So I'd say I wanted to add $1,000. I can go to increase. And then basically I just pick, like I said, my wallet's connected. So I could, select some USDC, however much I wanted, and add to this position. And it would just, I would just earn more, without exiting, this liquidity pool, which you can't do on Aerodrome, which, like I said, you're still using Aerodrome, but just it doesn't have the functionality. The user interface doesn't allow it.
Right.
Now rebalance, there's manual rebalance where basically pretend like the price of Ethereum went from 39.13 over the upper end here at 4,031.
Mhm.
I can rebalance. And so manually, I can use these to move and, basically set what range I want to use. And you can see as I'm doing that, watch the APR here. As I narrow the range, you can see that APR is going up.
Right. Right.
So I can basically select the range that I think, based off of TA. I'll go back to this. Basically you look at the chart, you see the movement, where's support, where's resistance, go through that whole rigmarole. And then you set those ranges. And then basically, I would suggest for slippage, you do 0.25 just to minimize the chance of, basically losing money, due to slippage. I won't get into the details of that unless you can explain it pretty basic, Drew.
Yeah, I mean, basically, slippage is just the difference in price that you're allowing to be during the transaction, and sometimes that can get pretty hairy as far as losing out on making the swap even happen, or just the money that you lose in between the transactions. So,
Especially in extreme volatility.
absolutely, absolutely. So, kind of a simple way to put it, but 2.5%. That's just a good, simple way to think about this.
So,
and you need to migrate those NFTs in order to see this, because I couldn't see this graphic on the right until
gotcha.
I migrated, and there was a little one of these little squares to the right of APR. I think it was the first square where it's like the redo button. It said migrate, and then you can see
finish this train of thought, because that's actually a little bit down the road, I guess is the best way to put it. So basically, once you select your range, select your slippage, then you just hit rebalance, and basically it will just automatically set that. It will adjust, and bing, bang, boom, you're back in range, you're back earning.
Okay.
It's really that simple.
Okay. And this is VFAT, right? You said V as in Victor, FAT as in Oprah, .io.
Victor Foxtrot Alpha Tango .India Oscar.
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
So
just want to clarify.
So basically, and then of course you have your data down below, so you can look at here's my total deposit in this pool. Here's my NFT number. So as I mentioned, whenever you enter a liquidity pool, your receipt of ownership is an NFT, a non-fungible token. It's not a Punchy Penguin. It's not a Bored Ape. It's but this is the actual utility of an NFT.
Right.
So, and then of course it tells you this is how much wrapped ETH that I have deposited. This is how much USDC I have deposited. And then this is how much of the total pool that is mine. So I'm only 0.02% of the entire wrapped ETH USDC pool. Right. And then this is the rewards that I've earned so far. 8.58 Aerodrome or Arrow. So that's pretty much that. Now you can auto rebalance. I'll summarize. Long short, again, this is something that's great that's only on VFAT. If you don't have time to be constantly watching this, auto rebalance, it basically tells it through the different parameters. And maybe we can do another video another time and get into more detail. But if it goes outside of the range, it will automatically rebalance for you. Right. So that it ensures that you're staying profitable.
This is something I'm absolutely going to be using, by the way, because keeping up with all the news and the trades and everything like that, I do not have time to be rebalancing these things all the time. So I'm very glad you're going through this.
All right. Next is withdraw. So basically you can select what you want to, there's a decent amount of tokens that you can withdraw. There's I think there's wrapped SWE,
There's
there's wrapped
sexy.
ETH.
I saw
The hell is
sexy
syrup?
too.
Sexy syrup.
Yeah, you can do some sexy syrup.
F-bomb.
Nice.
Yeah, SF bomb. Yeah. So, and again, set your slippage, but depending on what you select, you can take profits in that.
Absolutely.
So that's
okay.
That's pretty pretty basic, but that's a full withdrawal. Now, you can see here that I've earned $17.78. One thing, bless you, that you can do is you can do a manual or auto compound. So I did it earlier today, and that's why I only have $17.79. But I can lump this back in to my total deposit to compound my earnings. So as I'm earning, it's going back into my main investment. So it just means I'm making more and more and more and more. Anybody that listens to like Benjamin Franklin, like his old quotes, and a lot of really smart investors, one of the most powerful tools to investing is compounding interest.
Absolutely.
So that is one way. You can auto compound. It will cost you 1.8% of your rewards, but it's worth it. So you can set it to where it will optimize, based off of the fees it's going to cost and swaps and all those different things, to where it will, every minute or two, it recalculates. And when it says, yes, this is the optimal time, it will auto compound for you. Again, somebody that doesn't have the time to be watching this all the time.
Absolutely.
Any questions?
I mean, really the thing that comes to my mind that I just want to highlight is that the whole reason why such a beautiful service would exist is because they're earning that compound fee.
Yes.
And that I think is worth it, what you just explained and how it kind of operates. This is something that I'll probably be taking advantage of, because obviously compound interest can really, really add up over a little bit of time. So now we've moved on to the harvest section of this.
Yes.
Rather than withdraw, how is harvest different than withdraw?
So harvest is basically withdrawing what you've earned. So one of the things that I do, or I started doing, is I alternate. So one day I'll harvest and remove my profits into Arrow. Today I compounded. So what I did is I just went down the line. I had 3 in here earlier, and what I did is I just basically harvested them. Today I compounded them. So I basically lumped them back in like I just talked about.
Right. Okay.
So basically it's just a way to take profits. Like say you just have these sitting here for weeks. Maybe you don't compound, maybe you don't harvest, maybe you don't do anything. You see an awesome project. That's the beautiful thing about DeFi is you have dry powder waiting in the wings. Free money. This is literally free money. All those bags that you have sitting stagnant that aren't doing anything for you. Now they are, but DeFi is awesome in a sideways market.
Right.
Because one, everything's staying in range, on those concentrated liquidity pairs. So, the prices are a lot less volatile. So you're staying in range and earning.
Right.
And 2, your bags aren't sitting still. You're earning while you're not getting price appreciation.
Absolutely. And this is going to be something really powerful during the bear market, because I think we will have a boring bear market once again. It's that to be discussed on how far we'll fall once that comes. But when you do fall into a bear market, that's where price coils forever. Like we just spent, I think it's like 560 days toiling around, so there's a lot of opportunity in DeFi in that time frame, as long as you're getting involved with projects that you're adding liquidity to that won't literally die, because we do see that in bear markets. So you got to keep that in mind for projects that you're thinking about adding liquidity to. That is something very, very important to keep in mind.
Absolutely. And to be honest, that's my plan is, I plan on being majority out. I'll keep some moon bags, but I'm going to be majority out in stables, in a cold storage wallet, wait for the market to crash. I'm going to take a portion of my profits. It's going to be my DeFi that I'm going to do all through, the bear market, and just build bags. Just do nothing but just take profits, buy cool new projects, beef up on, projects that I like, peel off profits and take vacations,
Right.
whatever it is, build my
Absolutely.
shop, all that kind of stuff. But
Absolutely.
yeah. So I got two more things if we got time really quick that I'll cover.
I mean,
then,
this is a full-on how-to. I want to take the time too, you know what I mean? Because I think we're looking at, in my opinion, 3 of what could be the biggest gainers, really out in crypto right now. And I think that what we're looking at, I just have this gut feeling we're looking at a golden goose. So let's continue on. I want to completely gut
this
what
is,
you guys are doing.
at least from my experience, this is powerful. The little bit of time that I've had to invest in, it takes a little bit of learning and knowledge, but if you can just dive in with a little bit and get a feel for it. I've got a buddy that I'm gonna set up and walk him through this too in the next few weeks. So
we're spending an hour teaching people how to literally make money for you in the background.
Yeah.
This is like starting a DeFi business as long as you do it the right way. So have at it, Vet. What's next? What do we got?
Dude, I'm glad you said that, Drew, because I mean, honestly, you really could treat this as a business.
I know people that do. I know people that absolutely do. This is something that, I've spent probably since 2017 looking at crypto, since 2020 with my entire life savings invested into it. Now we see that it's here to stay. Regulatory clarity is here. And I really think that if we take advantage of this, because this is what we were talking about before we went live, that it's BlackRock sees the potential of this. The Treasury of the United States sees the potential. They are moving. They are testing this situation. They are testing this right now. And what do we think we see? We see Elon Musk, the Department of Government Efficiency, coming to fix the deficit death spiral that we're in. And we have a lot of crypto knowledgeable people coming into literal presidential power in the United States. We see Donald Trump.
What's that David dude that's on
David
the
Sachs?
podcast?
Yeah, David Sachs, man. I mean, this is absolutely crazy. And Paul Atkins as the SEC chair. It's literally a power squad. And I mean, just on the
they're
notion,
to switch.
We
literally went from crypto is the bane of evil, it must be crushed,
right,
to all hail crypto.
Right. As just a quick interjection here, I do have just a quick explainer on, we've talked about the power of CBBTC, why I think Coinbase is going to be the King Kugla. I'm just going to highlight this just as a simplifier. CBBTC is backed 1-to-1 by Bitcoin. This means Bitcoin holders can now access Solana and obviously the base DeFi platforms. On Solana, even Radium has got the access to this, Jupiter, Drift, and Orca. It's not listed here. Orca is also on this.
And of course on Base. I mean, it's in like a bunch of liquidity pairs on Aerodrome and on VFAT.
Well, and Donald Trump, I mean, he bought Aave in a giant clip over the past 2 days. He bought $1.2 million worth of Aave. He bought $2 million worth of Chainlink for the CCIP protocol fees. And he bought millions of dollars of CBBTC. What do you think is going on? They are testing this out. World LibertyFi is the testing ground for the Treasury. That is literally what I think.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we lost your sound, Drew.
We lost you.
Nope.
You can hear us, right?
Yeah. Hold on.
Oh,
There you go.
There you go.
I think that literally a testing ground for the Treasury. That's what I feel like is going on right now. I feel like Donald Trump is getting his feet wet and understanding what this yield earning DeFi ecosystem really is. And I think that the power team behind him, we have Vivek Ramaswamy, we have Elon Musk, we have RFK Jr., we have David Sachs, we have Paul Atkins, we have all of these extremely knowledgeable crypto leaders that are now in his realm, in his circle, not to mention his sons who are heavy into crypto. He's rolled out World Liberty Fi and he's stacking up wrapped Bitcoin, Aave, and Chainlink. He is literally, I feel like World Liberty Fi is a testing ground for the Treasury. I will not be surprised if we see a government driven DeFi summer. Okay. I'm like on the verge of freaking out about what I think is happening in the background. This is a conspiracy theory, obviously, but if I'm right
me
about
and Drew,
this,
me and you were talking about it, and it was honestly, and it was something that you said that made me think of it. But the fact that DeFi could be the new bond, the new U.S. Treasury bond, to where that basically instead of buying a bond for yield, they create liquidity pools that people put money in. And, of course, there'd be a smart contract to where, there'd be a penalty for early withdrawal and, things like that to, help stabilize it. But, you could earn yield just like you do on liquidity pairs,
right,
on a treasury note.
And my thought's not that it's going to replace treasury notes, but I feel like it's going to be additional to treasury notes to boost
It's a
our
tokenized
capital.
asset.
Absolutely.
That's,
Absolutely.
literally what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a crazy conspiracy theory, and what the implications of what I'm saying here are insane because we're
It's
talking
only
about
crazy till it happens.
tens of billions, hundreds of billions of
Just
dollars.
give it 6 months.
I mean,
Just
this
wait
could
6
get
months.
insane. Okay, so
Yeah.
we've covered a lot of ground. I think we've covered exactly what this all means. And I feel like we've covered kind of the top projects within the base ecosystem. Base is where I want us, and I'm glad we focused on, because in my gut feeling, I really feel like the DOJ made Binance keep its head low as Coinbase is rolling out to literally take over this space. That's just what I feel like.
The timing's just odd with that whole.
Well, that's
really
the race right now and I think that's why Larry Fink and BlackRock and all of them were like, fucking fudding the shit out of crypto for so long, is to buy themselves time. They see the writing on the wall. Traditional finance is going the way of the dodo.
Right.
They know there's no way to stop it, and they needed time to build it out so that they don't lose their power. They want to ensure that they're pulling the levers, and that they're, building the machine that everyone has to use, because otherwise we don't need banks. With crypto, you don't need banks. I can send Drew, I can send Jeff money, and they get it instantly. You don't have to ask permission. No one can have their fingers in it. Instead of the bank earning yield off of my deposits, like we just went through, I'm earning yield off my deposits, loaning them to people like Jeff and Drew if they want to borrow USDC or Bitcoin or ETH or whatever to trade or whatever they want to do with it.
DeFi is going to be the world's biggest bank. It's clear as day. And, we've talked about Aave maybe being the biggest bank, but honestly, like these new protocols that are, within the base ecosystem that are compliant and falling under CBBTC might end up turning into absolute Goliaths of the DeFi space. So, this is, honestly, we might need to timestamp this and, a few years from now, look back at this video. I think we're looking at something pretty special here. What do you got, Ben?
If you don't mind, let me there's two really important tools that are kind of higher level, and then we can just kind of freestyle, after that if you want. This is a correlation matrix. It's on DeFi Llama. It's what it tells you is the liquidity pairs. So like say that you want to do a wrapped ETH Morpho liquidity pair. It gives a score. So it's tracked over 7 days, a month, or a year. And the higher the number and the greener the box, then the more correlated the pairs are, which means they move together. So basically it means that it stays in range. It's much more prone to stay in range. So this is a great tool to find pairs that move together without having to go to each chart and look at individual charts and do, that Hilly TA and stuff like that.
Right.
So, the redder it is, basically stay away from it. It's too volatile. Like USDT Morpho, don't get into that pool right now. It's way too volatile.
Absolutely.
Morpho's been pumping.
Yeah. And I did see with the Velodrome pump today, it was kind of crazy. I'll just highlight this while we're on this subject, because this does matter. You can run into issues here. I'll add this to my stages from cbduck.base.eth. I've been just loving the info that this guy has been putting out, and he was highlighting the potential to get liquidated, and he was just highlighting the move that Velo made and a lot of pain that can be felt if the price does what Velodrome did today. It rose by like 100%. If you're not rebalancing or getting in and out or kind of protecting yourself, you can run into problems this way. He's just highlighting it, that publishing a strategy now because the past 24 hours, Velo Looper got a massive liquidation. The risk has been released. Velo now closer to fair value, not as undervalued as what it was before. Obviously not financial advice, but this is something to keep in mind. And this is why I really like the auto rebalance feature. I don't know how much help, let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about that. So let's say Aerodrome goes to $5 one day. Is that auto rebalance going to be able to keep up with the price change and save me from those losses in that instance? Or is there any worry within that scenario?
It's not a perfect mechanism. So as long as the price is going up, there should be no impermanent loss. Because basically, you're getting price appreciation, as you're DCAing out. You're not going to make. Well, I take that back. You're not going to make as much as if you hodled. So technically, yes, there would be some. I'm drawing a blank. I just said it. What's the
impermanent
term?
losses.
Impermanent loss. Yeah.
So basically, there would be some impermanent loss because you would make less than if you just hodled. Now, however, you're going to make money, and as long as the profits that you're making, the APR, outpace the impermanent loss, which if you're getting price appreciation, shouldn't be an issue. Then basically, it's just going to keep rebalancing. Like in a bull market, it's just going to keep rebalancing, and you're just going to be printing money.
Right.
Now, if the price tanks and you keep rebalancing and it just keeps tanking and going out of range over and over and over, whenever the market does do its big crash after this bull run, if it does, then potentially you're incurring fees, and the price going down, you're losing because of impermanent loss.
Right.
So in that case,
it's going to come. I feel like the bear market's going to come. I feel like Bitcoin's going to probably fall by 50%. Yeah.
And you don't want to be on auto rebalance when that time comes. You once the bear, me personally, I'm not doing auto rebalance until the market totally crashes. And I'm pretty confident that we've found the floor. Once we've been trending sideways for a couple of months or something like that, then I'll start, getting in there, and maybe I'll do auto rebalance. But auto rebalance can bite you unless you're in a strong bull market.
Yeah, absolutely. These are important things to highlight, man, because things can change very, very quickly. Now, what are we looking at? Oh, I'm sorry. I see you have the next kind of setup here. What is this? What are we looking at here?
All right. So the last tool that I want to share before we put a pin in this for now is this. It's called Dune. And anyone that's familiar with Excel spreadsheets and data aggregation, this is basically a data aggregator.
Mhm.
And what that means is it just pulls data from all over the internet. Individuals build these out. And so this gives you it consolidates just invaluable information in one place. So the way that I bring up what the data that I want is, coming to the right, dashboard. So, this one is basically the Aerodrome dashboard, and it just has all the different stats of, how much volume there is, how much TVL, and then it just kind of goes through and shows all the liquidity pairs and just on and on and on. I can go on for days, but the important thing is this is one of the tools that I use to figure out the next epoch. So, Wednesday evening is when the epoch ends and the new one starts. So you want to know what pool is going to be profitable based on the votes that we talked about before with VE Arrow.
Right.
The people that hold VE Arrow, that liquidity token, they vote. Like I said, was at the beginning. They vote on the pools that will get the emissions, the arrow, the fees that have been collected over the past week. Where are those going to go to reward people that are providing liquidity? Right. That's based on votes. So what you want to do is you find the pool that you want. Here, you hover over this little dot here, and it will pop up. Here. And you can, sorry, let me switch. You hover over this little dot here, and it will tell you the pool address, and you can copy that. If you're in VFAT, you scroll down. So this is where it's all at. You scroll down.
Go to VFAT. Switch screen.
Oh, thank you, sir. You go to pool contract, and you hover over here, and you can copy it here as well, depending on whichever platform you're using. Then what you do is you come over here and you paste it down into this search area here, and it will bring up basically all of the epochs. So all the way from the beginning, it will bring them up. So what you do is you look at this and you look at how many votes it's getting. For a healthy liquidity pool, you want to see this, ticking up. Obviously you want as many votes as possible. You can see that it peaked out at 116. This is the wrap ETH USDC pair that I love. But it dropped, but it's still holding steady at 12% of the total votes.
Okay.
Then you look at the fees. You can see the fees, however, are like, this is the highest it's ever been. $1.5 million worth of fees that are going to get split up to anybody that's providing liquidity.
Right.
There's bribes, which is something we didn't cover, so I won't even talk about it. It's another way that you can earn. And then the fees and the bribes together, and then it basically just gives you all the the APRs and all that stuff. So this is how you check to see if a liquidity pool is becoming more or less profitable to provide liquidity for. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I mean, and this is really good specific info that you're bringing in. Holy shit, just real quick, I'm so glad I got out of this trade. I made $1,000 or like $800 off this. I took profits right there. I am so crazy sometimes. I don't know how. I took my wife out on a date, and I was like, you know what? I want to focus on you while you talk, so I'm going to close that. Jesus.
See, you were rewarded.
Best decision.
Oh my gosh.
The crypto god smiled upon you.
Oh my gosh. All right, continue on. Just so crazy. I mean, that's just a good highlight. That's it. I put the trade in right here. It goes up. I'm good, like $800, and then I'm like, honey, I need to focus on you. Then just so crazy. Crypto's crazy sometimes.
So don't be afraid to take profits.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, let's freestyle a little bit because yeah, to be honest, I feel like I've given everybody a fire hose of information,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that people can watch it and rewind it and stuff like that because yeah, it's a lot to take in,
Yeah, it
and
is.
maybe
But
we can do a couple more of these and break it each part of it down and give some updates and maybe Drew, as you learn, you can start sharing your journey and
yeah,
experience, and Jeff can as well.
100%. There's a lot of information here, but there's a lot of opportunity here. And there's a lot of changes coming to our financial infrastructure at large. I feel like what we're looking right down the barrel of the next largest bank on the planet. I think we're looking at it right now. And really, I'm pretty excited to get involved with this. I have my own gut feelings about what's to come under the Trump presidency. I'm very excited for everyone that's gotten to crypto and that's been buying spot bags and learning through this bear market. It makes me so happy to think about all the members and all the buys and all the positioning that we've done and just seeing what the market is turning into right now. We are seeing Bitcoin, it is trying to print. Everyone thought I was crazy. Again, they keep telling me I'm crazy week after week that it's going to be a green candle here. I'll just go over here. We go to the current situation on Bitcoin. Boy, howdy. Look what we have here. So I look at Bitcoin on a macro scale and essentially where we are in terms of 4-year cycle. We're essentially right at about early January. So on this candle right here, now just highlighting this in this time frame, we overperform and then we correct. Now this correction in relevance terms should be a correction back down to $100,000. So what I'm thinking is that we're going to continue printing up from here. The weekly is looking like it does want to do that. We went in, we closed out today on Friday. A lot of people are sitting here all scared, but we have till Sunday to finish this candle out. And I am of the opinion that we are going to break above $104,000 this weekend. Maybe I'm wrong, but honestly, it kind of looks like it wants to do so. And that means that we are right on track for the same statistical trajectory that we experienced of the previous bull market, even with a market cap that's coming in right at about, where's the market cap right now? I think it's about $3.6 trillion. So this makes me laugh. I think that this market cap's actually going to go to around 12 to 15 trillion by the time we're done with all of this in 2025. So, learning these different mechanisms, these tools of DeFi, and almost like a ghost DCA approach to spot buy. If I continue to be successful trading and I'm able to implement DeFi and buy spot bags of these altcoin gems as they come out and get those good positions, I mean, I can't even imagine what 2025 is going to bring for us. It's all about taking profits, though. And I got some ideas. Real estate is first and foremost. I'm going to be taking profits into real estate and then back into Bitcoin. That is my whole goal. But I think I can get there.
I'm buying property in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah. All right, man. Shout out to you, man. Shout out to you, Jeff. I mean, you guys are just dropping so much. And I think this is a really powerful combination of viewpoints as well. You guys are kind of on the ground in the very technical side of what's going on the base ecosystem. I absolutely love all the tools that you're utilizing. Dune Analytics, VFAT.io, DeFi Llama, a very powerful tool as well that you highlighted there. And then obviously the website or the actual access to staking for Aerodrome. We're looking at something pretty beautiful. So, with that being said, it's been a long video, but we covered a lot of ground and it's been a long day, but I'm invigorated by watching what you guys are doing here. It's a very, very cool thing. So, I guess
I do have one thing to say about this real quick. So I do a lot of airdrop hunting, and this has really helped me just get some extra dry powder to reinvest in some other airdrop hunting ventures. So
Very
I've taken
nice.
a little bit of the arrow that I've earned and just, put it towards other things that I've been airdrop hunting. And also I do a lot of testnet stuff, work with testnet projects and things that aren't on mainnet, so you can't lose money. You can break shit and learn in a way that's free. So there are some DeFi protocol projects that are in their testnet phase, and you're basically like a product tester. Yeah. So you get to get fake tokens to make swaps and provide liquidity. And there's a few that are currently in the testnet phase that are just like this, that use the flywheel technology, and you earn their V token and all this stuff. So I have some detailed walkthrough guides on my YouTube channel that can walk you through the whole process. So before you even go into Aerodrome and put your actual money in, you can learn in a free environment, and where you don't have to risk anything, and get familiar with how to make transactions and swaps and provide liquidity. And then you can go and put in your real hard-earned money.
Love it.
That's the one thing. It's painful enough to go into this. There's a lot of information and stuff, and you don't know where to start or how to make a transaction. But and you don't want to lose your money anyways, so you can go into this for free and test it out, and then feel comfortable.
I mean, that's a great point to bring up, Jeff. I mean, if you have a place that is a test net where you can break things and you're not breaking your bank, that is a very, very powerful way to start. Now, and I do want to highlight your channel here and Vets as well. So you're at the blockchain report. You're growing. I see you're at 4.7 thousand subs.
Yeah.
A lot of work you're putting into this channel. A lot of love, a lot of hard.
2.5 years, man. 2.5 years,
brother. You've been getting after it. 732 videos. Absolutely love it, man. And it shows you guys your crypto knowledge is growing exponentially. And Vet, I'm going to be showing your channel here. You cover quite a few different subject matters. Let's see here. I want to find you on, is it?
I reached out to Vet for something completely different other than crypto. It was the pharmaceutical and stuff episode that he did on Bullshit and Bourbon. I was like, hey, let me jump on with you and chat. And then he hit me up the next day, said, hey, you want to start a live stream each week?
Yeah, we talk. Well, we talk about everything. Like the last one, we talked about being an expat. I had my cousin that's down in the Dominican Republic that me and him started a yacht charter business. We have like a couple luxury yachts down there and a couple deep sea fishing boats. And so he was here. He's been living down there in Antigua and in Europe for a couple of years now. So we were just talking about, visas and, that kind of stuff. We've talked about this Sunday, we're going to be talking about all the UFOs and, UAPs and all that stuff that's going on. We just basically drink, I drink bourbon and smoke cigars, and we just laugh and joke. So yeah, it's just me and a couple of the guys. So we'll have to have Drew on sometime.
Yeah, man. I mean, I got to get on there. I mean, honestly, like I stay about as busy as a one-armed paper hanger in the Great Depression working at a newspaper factory right now. But
it's true.
It's really kind of cool to see your guys' channels growing. I'm still a prepper and stuff like that, but I'm more focused on making a ass load of money to buy another house, and then set up some college funds and do those types of things. But I think we're kind of I know. Well, dude, I'm having a problem with Toyota's new engine, bro. They're finding metal shavings in the V6, the new V6 that they came out with. They're finding metal shavings inside of the cylinders. Like, you went and ruined the most perfect V8 that was ever developed. The 5.7 liter V8 that Toyota made was one of the most reliable V8 engines ever created. And they went and just completely screwed the pooch. They ruined everything for me. So now I'm like,
They ruined it.
They ruined it, and I'm having a really hard time. There's no Toyota, there's no Sequoia TRDs for sale in my literal area right now that are 2020 to 2022, because that's the range that I'm trying to find it in. no one is selling the TRD 5.7 Sequoia anywhere around me. It's driving me absolutely crazy.
When somebody gets a good thing, they're holding on to it.
Dude, unbelievable. But this is I mean, we just unloaded an absolute behemoth of information. You guys are
Would you say it's a plethora?
a plethora of information. And, really, at the start of this video, what will be the start of this video on the blockchain basement, we explain, what I think Trump is doing with World Liberty Fi, what happened to Binance, what happened at the same time frame with Coinbase and their own blockchain, and where we could potentially be moving to for what the future of banks and literal world finance is going to look like. We are setting up for something absolutely incredible, you guys. I really appreciate you cutting the time to join me on this show and having the patience for me to, I had to take a little date tonight, and I appreciate your guys' patience in me getting back.
Oh, man.
But
Gotta do live.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Very, very cool info you guys are dropping. Super excited to see the amount of money that you guys are making, providing liquidity and Aerodrome and this base ecosystem. I'm definitely going to get it there and do it myself. And yeah, everyone that's watching this channel, if you're watching on the basement, because we're going to be releasing this on all of our channels, but make sure that you're following these guys. These guys are putting in hard work. Veteran Crypto, at Veteran Crypto on YouTube, but it's Bullshit and Bourbon is the tag here. And you can also find the blockchain report. Okay, so you could type in the blockchain report, and this is Jeff's channel. A hell of a lot of work that he's put into this channel, and he's got his own Discord. Guru. Yeah, I mean, I like how you have kind of a specialty in this, man. Very, very cool.
He's very surprised about that one.
Dude, I mean, it's hard to be a master of everything, I never try to claim to be a master of everything because that's impossible. You focus in and you really pay attention to what you can. You don't try to overextend yourself. And we make money slowly and we protect money quickly, as I was talking about this morning.
Smooth as fast.
That's right, baby. So appreciate you guys. I'm gonna go get some rest, but if you're out there watching, make sure you're subscribed to all the channels, and we'll be seeing you very soon. Till then,
reach out to us. Appreciate it, everyone.